guys, Bradley tuning in, coming out with another video, and today I want to talk about how real estate is done different around the world. We know how we do it here in Ontario, here in the Greater Toronto area, but what about elsewhere? What about as we travel across the world, how are they doing things for better or for worse? And I want to share some really cool facts with you that have to do with what they're doing abroad. But before I get started, my name is Bradley. I do videos like this all the time to keep you up to date on the latest tips and tricks here in the GTA real estate market. It is Halloween tomorrow. I hope you guys are excited. I want you to see what we're actually giving Emily, my daughter, for Halloween. She's going to be 2 this year. And so we're able to recycle a costume that she had, and I'm going to wear it right. Tell me that's not the most gangster thing you've seen all day. My wife wore this when she was little, and now my daughter's going to wear it this Halloween. We're going to have a blast. But back to what we were talking about. When it comes to what we do here in Ontario, here in Canada, we have a very organized real estate structure. In fact, we have a local, we have a provincial, and a national board that we deal with, in which if you see Realtor.ca, you know that website, that's actually hosted by CREA, the Canadian Real Estate Association. So all these listings are merged together, and we work really hard in partnerships, brokerages across the country, and putting this material together for you as a consumer. But that's not the case everywhere. Which brings me to my first country. In Australia, they do an open bidding war. Now, you guys know here in Canada, if you follow any of our content, you're not allowed to see what buddy next door is submitting for the offer, and everything is going in blind. In many cases, it's done within a week of the listing. But they do things a little bit different in Australia. In fact, we've used it as a criteria for what we might be going, and this is why this is interesting. We may be going in that direction down the road. But today, what they do is they'll broadcast the listing for, say, a month, and you'll be able to come through, take a look. You can do whatever assessment you want, and then everybody gathers around, generally on a Saturday, and stands around in between for 10 to 15 minutes. They will be giving an open auction to anyone hosted by the listing agent. And people will come and they'll watch whether they're involved or not, because it is a very interesting spectacle. I can see it now.
1.8's the bid. We've bid a number 5.
Oh, where was I? Let me show you what the National Post had published very recently here in Ontario. This article reads, "Why the Ontario Real Estate Association and others believe in an open bidding process is a better way to buy and sell real estate." That article goes on to say, in Australia, where open auction wars can often erupt in the front yards of properties. So this isn't just a fun thing going on in Australia. This is actually being considered here in Ontario by OREA as a potential option for what we would do. Now, I think the way they would ease this in is to say, you have the option to do it. So if you want to have an open bid, you could do that, or we can continue to do it as we are. So it'll be yet to be decided how that would look, but very interesting that this has been going on actually for years. In fact, it's been going on since the 1800s in Australia. Which brings me to number 2. Where rent laws actually favor the landlord. For example, you're allowed to have rent increasing at any rate so long as it's agreed by the tenant, and you're allowed to collect deposits. But let me show you what we have here in Ontario. As we look at what the Landlord and Tenant Board has published, they say that in 2019, the rent increase guidelines is 1.8. The guideline is the most the landlord can increase the rent without applying to the LTB. And if we jump to the Ontario Standard Lease, it reads this. When it speaks about rent deposit, it says this very cleanly: this cannot be used as a damage deposit. So as you can see, the landlord and tenant relationship is quite different when we jump over to the UK, which brings me to number 3. China has so many fascinating things going on. The number one thing being you cannot officially own land in China. You can only lease. They do land leases everywhere. Everything is ultimately owned by the government, and the leases are typically 70 years. You're allowed to buy one property in China if you've worked or studied in the country for a minimum of 1 year. Now, they don't want foreigners investing in their local market. Isn't that ironic? Another fun fact of what they do in China is your minimum down payment needs to be 50% on your first property and 70% on a second property. Now, these are all part of cooling measures that China has done to stabilize its market in many ways similar to what we've done here, but obviously using different guidelines and different measures. And to make the market even more interesting in China, if you sell your home within 5 years, your capital gains tax is only 5%. And that brings me to a close on some of the cool things going on around the world. Encore! Okay. Let's do one more because this is so much fun. Let's talk about... One of the interesting things that I found about the Indian market is this. We here in Canada, when you're buying a property, you pay between 2 to 3% of fees. over there, they can pay up to 12% in fees. And one of the other things that I think is really interesting and a great comment starter down below, if you know, because we have a lot of international people watching this content, I have heard through the grapevine that in India, when you're looking to purchase a property, if you sign with a real estate brokerage, you are limiting yourself to purchasing only properties through that brokerage and purchased and listed by that brokerage. And so oftentimes they are more hesitant to sign agreements, whereas in Canada here, you sign with an agent, they're just representing you, you can see all things. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not able to find that anywhere on the internet, but I would love to leave it with you guys. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's one of the fun facts that I've learned here and has actually influenced the way that I interact with certain individuals when I'm looking to purchase properties as well. Leave that down in the comments below. I'm going to leave it there, and I'll see you next time. Make sure you slam that subscribe button. We're going to continue to put out fantastic content. Take care and keep it real.